Alright, today I'm going to discuss the differences between the Ibanez Gibraltar Standard 3 bridge and the Gibraltar Standard 2 bridge. If you clicked on this video, you're probably trying to make a purchase decision and are looking for any significant differences or information in general on these bridges. Overall, they have small differences between them but are functionally the same. But I do prefer one over the other. And by the way, I'm not sponsored by any of the brands shown in this video. So first let's start with the saddles. Now on the Gibraltar II, the saddles, the shape is different. It slants back towards the edge of the body right here. So the highest point are by the height adjustment screws. The height adjustment screws on these are also closer to the edge up here. Now on the Gibraltar Standard 3 bridge, it's not a uniform kind of curve or flat surface. It's raised near where the height screws are. And then the backs of the saddles, they're lower down. And the height screws, they're not all up against the edge of the saddle, but they're a bit further in. So there is some nice surface area up here on this raised area. Because of that, it doesn't interfere with your playing. Especially if you're doing palm muting, it's not gonna get in the way of your playing. It's not gonna cut into your hand at all because you're gonna be palm muting up here anyway. Now let's talk about the shape of the base of the bridge. On the Gibraltar II here, it's the widest near where the strings interface the saddles, near the neck. And then it goes down and it comes in and it's thinnest here. Now when you're playing, if you're palm muting or playing aggressively, you don't really touch this. You have to really dig in to feel it. And even when you do feel it, it's pretty low down. It doesn't get in your way. It doesn't hurt you or poke you or anything like that. If you like to wipe down your bridges and keep them clean, I guess keep that in mind. You'll want to be wiping down this area, not just the saddles. Now on the Gibraltar III, it's different. The thinnest area is towards the neck, towards the saddles interfacing the strings, and the back is the widest. So it's going to be angled away from where your picking hand is. Another interesting thing is it has these, I guess, walls you would call them, sort of like a Hipshot, but it slopes up. So they're tallest up here, then they come down. So it's doing everything it can to get out of the way of your hand. Even though this whole thing angles away from your hand, again, if you're a clean freak, you will still want to wipe this part down too, not just the saddles. Now let's talk about the intonation adjustment, moving the saddles forward and back. This is especially important if you do recording and you check your intonation before doing that. Or if you like to be in tune in general, intonation adjustments are pretty important. One of the advantages of getting a fixed bridge is because these adjustments are pretty easy. But on the Gibraltar II right here, it's interesting because you need a 2.5 millimeter hex Allen key to be able to turn these bolts, these screws here. And that's going to be different than the 3 millimeter Allen key you'd use for floating bridges like the Floyd Rose, like the Ibanez bridges, where you would have to unlock the nut and then the strings at the bridge. So if you don't have a multi-tool like this that does have a 2.5 millimeter, if you're just carrying around a 3 millimeter, there might come a time where you're out of luck. I'm not sure why they didn't just use a bolt that would take a 3 millimeter Allen key. Now with the Gibraltar III, it takes a Phillips head screwdriver. That's what you're going to use to turn these bolt things here. And personally, I think that's an improvement. I'm more likely to have a Phillips head screwdriver than a 2.5 millimeter Allen key, because you also use that for adjusting pickup height if you want to get into the electronics cavities, or even if you just do work around the house, around the apartment, around the condo. Of course, now that I've said that, everyone's going to jump out from behind the bushes in the comments telling me they have a 2.5 millimeter Allen key, but they've never used a Phillips head screwdriver in their life. So, which one of these bridges do I prefer? The 3 or the 2? Well, when it comes to playing feel, thankfully none of these really impede your playing. It takes barely any adjustment time, if at all, switching between these two guitars. To me, it makes more of a difference that this is an RGA and that this is an S, and then they've got different backs and they sit against your body slightly differently. It was a slight adjustment getting the guitar with the Gibraltar III, just because it has that raised area over the height screws. But that adjustment period was all of 30 seconds. I remember it taking longer to adjust to a Gibraltar II, since I'm so used to playing guitars with floating bridges. The bridge with my favorite playing feel is the Ibanez Low Pro. I know that's a floating bridge and we're talking about fixed bridges here, but just strictly off of playing feel. How it feels against my picking hand. Would I have preferred a Hipshot bridge on these guitars? I guess so. I've had good experiences with the Hipshot bridge. It feels good against the picking hand. No complaints when using them. But these bridges work too. They're functional. I haven't had any catastrophic issues with them, both with this newer guitar and with this one that I've had for a while now. Which bridge would I pick between these two? Well, I think it's pretty obvious based off of my intonation discussion. The Gibraltar II is a good bridge, but I prefer the 3, and that is pretty much because it takes the Phillips head screwdriver to adjust the intonation. I'm more likely to have one of those lying around, or I'm more likely to find one of those if I'm out in the wild and I didn't bring my multi-tool. That's of course based off of my personal experiences. But if I could only ever have one guitar ever again and it had the Gibraltar II, that wouldn't be the end of the world. That would be fine. But what do you think? Which of these guitars would you prefer more? The newer Gibraltar III with the Phillips head screwdriver for the intonation adjustment with the different saddle shape, or the Gibraltar II that's been around a while? Be sure to comment your thoughts down below. Also, let me know if I missed anything or if you have any other questions. Of course, this is YouTube, so I have to say the YouTube things. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share the video, print out every frame and mail it, join the Discord, check out the socials. And hey, if you're looking for something cool to listen to, I do video game music covers and original songs too. I'm on all major streaming services like Spotify. And as always, peace.